Hello, everyone, and welcome to our meetup about prompt engineering. Doing the first steps. We're not going to be professional prompt engineers if something like that even happens. Before I start, a few words about what I'm doing. I have my own company. You can find more information if you check lifemichael.com. And my company focus on delivering professional training to software developers. um, Online, in person. We have custom course. We also tailor training according to the needs and so on. Okay, just check the website and get in touch if you are looking for training. So let's start. Before we touch the topic itself, we go over some basic um, stuff just so that all of us will be on the same page. This meetup isn't just for software developers, it is for everyone. So if for some reason my explanation is not clear enough, ask questions. You can even stop me. I mean, not clear enough for those that are not software developers. Okay, I will try to make things as simple as possible. So I assume nothing. First, let's be all on the same page. So artificial intelligence, what exactly artificial intelligence? So what we can say about artificial intelligence is that it is about developing software that perform tasks that till 10, 20, 30 years ago, we thought that these tasks can be performed by human only. These days, you can find lots of applications of AI, cars drive by themselves, chatbot that interact with you, having a conversation, and so on. However, AI is not new. It existed in the past, and actually, it is possible to develop applications uh, that bring AI, deliver AI using simple programming languages without any of the new technologies related to AI these days. I can share with you, I saw AI takes place in companies using programs written in C even. It is possible because the idea exists for many years, just that recently, during the last years, thanks to the evolution of the computing resources, the hardware, and so on, uh, it is available to do stuff that in the past we considered it as something that is impossible or something that maybe in the future, not in the near future, but 100 years forward, maybe will take place. And it takes place already, like bots you talk with, for example, or cars driving by themselves without a driver. So you can find various examples for AI. Take a look. I'm not going to read from the slides. You can read by yourself. Um, Voice assistant system that recommend you on specific movies according to the movies you already watch and so on. Now, what is machine learning? Well, machine learning is about having a software that learns through going over data. And by doing so, that software can help us, um, for example, by predicting, giving us predictions about specific things, or helping us taking the right decision and so on. So this is also a domain that exists for many years. Deep learning is a specific type of machine learning. Specific is a subdomain, subset of machine learning. Without getting into details, without getting into too many details and keeping the explanations as simple as possible, when you think about deep learning, think about having layers that each one of them process some of the data, do something with it, and pass it over to the next layer. And by doing so, um, we can get even more uh, accurate machine learning. Let's stop here. So when working with AI model, think about the software running on the server of ChatGPT. I believe that you are familiar with ChatGPT. If I'm wrong and there is someone that in the audience that doesn't know what ChatGPT is, let me know. So ChatGPT, when you use it, you use it through the web browser. And in the web browser, you see the bot, the bot you interact with. But there is on the server side the huge software that was trained. Think about machine learning, what we have just explained before. Um, Trained by going over a huge amount of data. We are talking about a huge amount of data, so that if you um, ask the bot, ChatGPT is just the bot. The model is on some is running up and running on the server side. If you ask something, then the result you get it might amaze you. It all starts with the huge amount of data the model was trained on. If you ask something that doesn't appear in that huge amount of data, then most likely that the model will invent something, will give you a wrong answer. And so for that reason, it is highly important to verify whatever the bot provides you with. Otherwise, you might find yourself in strange situations, such as there was a case of a lawyer that created a document using ChatGPT, and the document mentioned laws that don't exist, for instance. And if you talk with researchers that work on those models, even them don't exactly understand everything that happens. So the fear of the future exists. Um, Now, when talking about training the model, let's imagine a case where we provide the model with thousands of pictures of cars, and each picture is with a label, the model of the car, and that model identify the features of every car that every car has, the shape of the lights, the dimension proportion, number of doors, and take the entire amount of data and organize it in a way that if we will ask it to draw a car, or if we present the model with a picture of a new model, or sorry, not a new model, a model that already exists, I mean a car model that already exists, then the AI will be able to identify, because the AI model, not the car model, the AI model was already trained using huge amount of data. Okay, step by step, slowly. So the key is the data we train the model. It can be public domain data. It can be data that exists in our company only. For example, I know a company that train a model using the code in that was written, the software application that company develops. It is an international company. They have a huge software application running on server. So they took the entire code and trained the model on that code. The data that provided the AI model was the code that was already written. so that it would be possible to use the AI for generating new code. And by doing so, maybe um, um, the, fire software developers and stay just with the best ones. This is a process they go through. So you can actually train the AI model with nearly any data you have in mind, including code that developers wrote. So the learning process includes, first of all, the collecting of the data. You need to collect the data. It can be video, it can be audio. First, you need to collect. Then you train the AI model with the data. The AI model learn. Remember, we talked about machine learning. So the AI model learn. And today you have libraries you can install on your computer and use them to create a new AI model using data you collected. So after we collect the data, we train the model, and then comes the step when we try to tune the AI model we created using the training process. And when the tuning complete, then we start using the AI model to generate new content or to predict the future and so on. So when we say generative AI, it is a subset of AI. AI is a huge domain. A subset of AI is generative AI. Generative AI is about creating new content. I believe you have already some experience using various solutions for creating new video, new audio, new images. You can create funny images. On YouTube, you can find funny video clips um, that were created using pop, leaders, politicians from all over the world, or just funny video clips that are the result of a model that is able to generate videos. So when we talk about generating new content, whether it is text, images, audio, and so on, then we're talking about generative AI. And um, there are lots of models you can find. There are models developed by OpenAI, of course, but there are other models developed by other companies. Now, ChatGPT is just a bot, a software that you can talk with in your web browser. You can talk, you can text with. Uh, on the server side, there is the AI model that ChatGPT use. And when you interact with ChatGPT, your input, we call it the prompt, uh, will be processed by the AI model on the server, and then the result will be sent back to the ChatGPT bot in your web browser, and that bot will spell it out. So the quality of the response, the quality of the reply you get from ChatGPT, this is the content, the text content usually, the ChatGPT bot gives you back. The quality depends on the prompt. The better prompt you use, the more accurate result you will get. Not accurate by the data, but also the format as well, and the quality. So we should make an effort to create a good prompt for our needs. Prompt engineering is about creating the prompt, optimizing the prompt so that the reply we get back will be the one we expect. Now, you can think about a reply coming back through ChatGPT, but this isn't the only case where we use a prompt. If you develop a software application that work with the AI model developed by OpenAI, and it is possible, I even have a course I developed for that. If you are interested, just contact me. Um, then you also need to refine the prompt in order to get a result, a reply, a content generated by the AI model in according with your expectations, in according with the needs you have in that software application you develop. And this is what this meetup is about. Prompt engineering is about creating a proper prompt, refine it. This is what prompt engineering is about. And there are techniques you should be aware of. And then, if you are aware of those techniques and if you understand how the use of the prompt works, how to create a good prompt, um, you will benefit whether from that. But whether you are a simple user that wants ChatGPT to generate content you are going to use, or a software developer that interact with the AI model on the server directly, and this is something software developers can do. In both cases, you will achieve better results if you will have a good prompt. So the prompt can be nearly anything. By the way, if you are using Claude is a well-known AI model for generating uh, code in various programming languages. Claude can even process a diagram. So just think about developing a software application by creating an accurate diagram, a good one, and then you provide it as a prompt to the AI model. Its name is Claude. And Claude will process that diagram and will generate the entire code of the entire system. So everything starts with the specification, with the diagrams when coming to software application development. So let's take a look at simple prompts. So a prompt can be a simple query, such as, what is the capital of Italy? Look, it is a screenshot I took from ChatGPT. So look at the prompt, look at how accurate it is. Thanks to this accuracy, the reply will be the one we expect. If you are not accurate in your question, the reply, the AI model will return back to you, won't be the one you expect. So it is very important to be accurate. But look, the prompt doesn't have to be a question. The prompt can be an entire article. This is the input we give and provide the model with, and we had a request to summarize the article. So in that case, the AI model on the server will process the article and will summarize it. Look, copy paste an article, please summarize the article. It summarized the article. That's it. Very simple. You can even provide the AI model with a problem in math. It can be a problem written in plain text, a problem taken you took from a book that students use to learn towards exams. and ChatGPT will simply solve it and explain the solution. And it can be ChatGPT, it can be another AI, or let's be more precise, generative AI model. And if you don't understand something, you can start asking. But if you think that the solution you get is always correct, is always accurate, um, you are wrong. When the AI model doesn't succeed to process and generate the accurate content it would like to generate, it starts to invent. So in my journey, when I try difficult problems, such as programming problems taken from websites like LeetCode, if you're familiar with, sometimes the AI model understands and succeeds, sometimes not. And sometimes I get bad explanations. And then when you start the interaction and say, look, you wrote to me, the person, the user, right to the chatbot, you wrote to me this and that, and this is not correct. It will answer, yeah, you are correct. Let's do it in a different way. And in some cases, uh, it will be an endless ping pong between you and the model. The model doesn't have a clue what is the solution. It doesn't understand. It also happens when asking a generative AI model to generate code, and it's not a common scenario, and maybe something in the specification of the platform you work with change, and the AI model is not aware of that. So it's not that the generative AI model can replace the software developers. You still need to have the ability to cope with those cases in which the generative AI model fails to handle. Uh, I say this is a simple question. I believe it will work. Usually, the AI model fails when it, the question is if it is about if it the question is in programming, then if you ask generative AI to generate code for a platform that it has a specification and there was a change, in those cases things fail. When working with various platforms, um, it might fail. Mm. I see the question, if the model was taught on internet, how can it solve math problems? Well, math problems also exist in the internet, and the data the model is trained on is break into lots of smaller pieces, and and we're talking about huge amount of data. Now, if you ask me how exactly it works, well, let's don't get into it because first, there are cases that even those researchers that develop the AI model can't answer. And there are cases that it is simpler to explain, but let's stay away from that because it's not the domain, it's not the topic for today. So, what are the best practices to follow when creating that prompt? As I said before, prompt engineering, and this meetup is about prompt engineering. This meetup is about creating the prompt, the best prompt for our needs. So, what are the best practices um, we should follow? Because if we want to get the AI model, the generative AI model, if we want to get it to generate the content we expect, we want, we first need to provide this with a good prompt. And a good prompt starts with being a specific prompt that is clear for us, for the AI model, for the generative AI model to understand. And make sure you include actionable verbs. I mean, a verb that in order the AI model to do something. Now, when dealing with simple cases, uh, usually it works without paying attention to those best practices we're going over. Usually the AI model does what we expect, it works. Um, but when the cases are not so simple, if the prompt is not specific enough, then the generative AI model might fail. So provide a specific, clear, detailed prompt. Provide the context that will optimize the output. And when I say the context, I mean that for case, if you, for example, you want the ChatGPT to generate a legal letter to IRS. So tell the model the following, tell him, you are a lawyer and a CPA, and now you need to write a letter to IRS about this and that, and be specific, what is it about? And tell him, write the letter. Doing so will cause the generative AI model to generate a letter that includes the use of legal terms because you said, you told the AI model that you should think as a lawyer. So that will influence the output, the content it generates. Try to have prompts that are structured, clear format. Don't throw text that is not related. Use labels like format for specifying the format of the output, the generated content you want. Use a label such as context to specify the context. Um, if there are limits, say, use the word constraint. Um, for example, you can instruct the generative AI model, write the letter without referring to the Israeli law, refer the Italian law only, for instance. Now, having a specific structured prompt, most likely you will get what you want. Look at this sample. I specify the context. Context, presentation I prepare about for a talk about ChatGPT. I'm going to talk about ChatGPT. I want to create a presentation. So I say, the context is a presentation for a talk I deliver about ChatGPT. Then the text, use actionable verb, create, do. I instruct the generative AI model that is up and running on the server with clear instruction what I want it to do. And then constraint. It must be max 80 words. That constraint limit the output, the generated content for 80 words. And then I specify something regarding the format. I say I want a title, the title prompt best practices. And I want the best practices listed using bullets. Having a structured prompt as that will give me what I want. You see? I'm very accurate in describing the context. Now, if that presentation was for kids, I will mention that. The context would be presentation I prepare for a talk about chatbot delivered in a kindergarten that or in a school that will influence on the generative AI model to create text that is more appropriate for kids, simpler words, for example, simpler language. Now, the context, as I said, is highly important. It influences the generative AI model. Provide anything that might influence, in your opinion, on the generative AI model. This is a talk for kids. This is a code for elders, and so on. This is a talk delivered for free. If there is a specific item you want to be included, mention that. The purpose, that context, this helps the generative AI model to produce the content, and you will get a content more that is more suitable for your needs. Now, examples is also something that will help the generative AI model to refine the generated content in according with your needs. Just include examples. Look at this sample. I wanted to get data, a list of currencies and their exchange rate. So context, create a table, or say you create a table that lists all countries and their currency codes. Format, and then I specify the format. I can even add to this description, the format should be in JSON, and then I will get a file in JSON, or the format should be an Excel file or XML, and so on. I will get a file in that format I specified. Now, I describe the format. Table, 2 columns. The first is name of the country, the second is the currency code. And please follow this example. I gave it an example to follow. That helps the generative AI model to generate the content I expect exactly. This is what I mean. This is what we mean when we say prompt engineering. Engineer the prompt in order to get the content we expect. So adding examples when needed is a great way for getting the content we want. So in many cases, you will find yourself creating a prompt, getting an output, and then do it again in order to refine the result you get. Just by introducing few changes in the prompt, maybe adding more examples, and the generated content will be more and more what you expect it to be. So you might find yourself in a cycle in which you refine the prompt. Now, if you handle a complex prompt, for example, you are using generative AI model for creating an article. So the article has parts. Maybe it would be best to break the task into smaller tasks, meaning instead of having one prompt for the entire article, try to create multiple prompts. Each prompt refer a specific chapter, a specific topic in that article or book. Having the entire task splitted into smaller tasks and then working on separated prompts, each task and its prompt, it might be simpler to refine the prompt, providing examples, providing the context, and so on, so that the result will be the one you expect according to your standards. This is something that I find myself when writing a post in a blog. I use generative AI, but I always go over the text that is generated. I usually use Grammarly because Grammarly is an add-on to the web browser that fix grammar mistakes, and it does an excellent job. The text that ChatGPT, for example, generates is not perfect. You need to fix it. And I also verify anything I find, learn new things if there are new stuff, and eventually splitting the interaction with the ChatGPT for each topic separately helped me to refine, and then I take the refine the prompt, and then according to that, taking the result and adding it to my post. The same with software development application. Just a moment. Up. So let's try to define prompt engineering. It is the process of crafting and refining prompts to improve the performance of the generative AI model. Um, Using prompt engineering and cycles of improvements, you will eventually get the expected content you were looking for. Now, if you try to ask ChatGPT what prompt engineering is, you get an excellent explanation, especially if you say, I'm 5 years old. Look what it gave me. Prompt engineering is like giving instructions to a very smart robot. Very, very smart robot. Look, smart, the generative AI model knows more than us. Don't have doubt about it. It might have reasoning, I mean, the ability to deduce, um, maybe not as ours, but most likely better than many other people. But it all starts with the instruction you give to that smart generative AI model. So imagine you have a magic robot that can talk, draw, help, and help you with anything, but only if you ask the right way. If you say, draw me a cat with a hat, the robot will draw it. But if you say cat, you won't get what you expected. So prompt engineering means learning how to ask the robot the best way. So it gives you exactly what you want. So in our case, prompt engineering is about uh, refining the prompt, creating a prompt that will generate the content we expect. The right prompt for the generative AI model so that the model will generate the content we expect. So the more you learn about how to improve your prompt, the more techniques you are familiar with, the better results you get from the generative AI model you work with. If you are not aware of the possibilities to manipulate the prompt, use various techniques, follow best practices, and so on, then your prompt might be the wrong one for what you expect. And then you will be disappointed from the generative AI model you work with. In many cases, when I hear about people that are disappointed from using generative AI models, it is because they fail with creating the right prompt for what they need. And that leads to disappointment. So prompt engineering eventually bridge the gap we have between the generative AI model and us. Um, Proper prompt engineering most likely will minimize the effort you need to put, the work you will need to in order to adjust the content the AI model created for our needs. If you are specific in your prompt and you are specific in the format you need, most likely that the content the generative AI model will create will be exactly according to what you expect. So it is unimportant to have a good prompt in order to get what we expect to get from the generative AI model. Look, for instance, at this sample. On the left, I instruct the generative AI model through the ChatGPT bot to write a marketing summary to promote Extreme J. I told you about Extreme J, Extreme JS, and Extreme Python for this year. Now, look what happens when I add small text saying highlight the sponsorship possibilities. Try to mention that this is the third time that conference takes place. I add information, add some context that helps creating better text. Now, when the text is created, I take it and verify. And of course, when it comes to grammar mistakes, I use Grammarly. I don't count on the generative AI model. And maybe introduce more changes by myself, but at least I have something to work with. It is simpler than inventing the entire wheel by myself. I use generative AI and then take the result and maybe introduce some changes into the prompt, asking it to mention a few things, and then take the result, few more changes, and I use it. That is a faster it's a faster by far faster process compared with doing everything by myself. Take a look at the image on the left. It is an image of an hamburger. I need to create an ad for advertising our burgers. Now, small changes in the prompt and the result is better. I can say I want the bunny to look a bit crispy. I want some sauce over the vegetable. You see, there is the ketchup. Small changes. I improve the prompt. I'm in a cycle in which I continuously improve the prompt in order to get the result I expect. Now, if we need to summarize what we have in our prompt, then we can say that the key parts include the directive. The directive is the instruction I give the generative AI model what I want it to do. Examples can be examples for the output I want to get. The role, I explicitly tell the generative AI model, you are a lawyer, you are a marketing manager, you are a software training manager, you're a software training instructor. When specifying the role, remember we talked about it, it influence on the generated content. It will be in according with the role. If I need to create a text message to tell about a delay in a flight, maybe it would be best to specify to the generative AI model that he is the head of the customer service department in that airline that needs to update the customers about a delay. So the text will be smoother.
Got a chat message today.
I hardly hear you. What do you say? I missed you.
I
Babe?
got chat message today.
Sorry, who is talking? Maybe you can write text because I hardly hear you.
Ham, I got a chat message today.
A chat message. If you mean a chat with the AI?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, of course. I know people that talk with the ChatGPT bot instead of going to and get help from a psychology. They save the money and sit in front of the computer and talk with ChatGPT. And you can freely talk. You don't have to type. I allow my kids sometimes to talk with ChatGPT in order to improve their English. And you can also specify the sound, the voice, if you want it to be a female, man, and so on. Now let's get back to the prompt structure. So we have the directive, this is the instruction. We have examples for the format. Role, it is all important to specify the role of the, you simply say, right, through the ChatGPT bot, you are a lawyer, you are a doctor, you are a lecturer in university, you are a teacher in high school. That will influence the generative AI to optimize the result accordingly. Now, output formatting, specify the format if needed. You can specify, I want the format to be Excel. I want the format to be a file for PowerPoint. If you ask the generative AI model to create a presentation. And as well as the context, any additional information, this is about the context, so that any detail that is important in your opinion is part of the context that will take into account when the generative AI model produce the content you ask for. So the directive, as we said, it is the instruction, the primary instruction, the main instruction. We tell exactly, we tell we tell the generative AI model what we want. It must be a concise instruction or a question with a clear task. Examples. This is relevant when the task is a bit complex. Those examples will help the generative AI model to produce the content you expect and to be more accurate with that content so that it will be according to your expectations. So if you expect a JSON, specify the format should be JSON. And this is an example for what I'm looking for. You can specify the style and so on. And then the clear, simple, relevant examples that match the task, that match the format you ask, when you provide them, it becomes simpler for the generative AI model to produce the content you are looking for. Just a moment, something happens. So here's example. I tell through ChatGPT, I tell the model translate the following words from English to Hungarian, and I specify one word, blue, uh, and then the translation to Hungarian. And look at the content it generates. It gives me the exact content I expected in the exact format I expected. Um, Allow me to share with you. I'm writing these days an update to a book I published about learning Python for kids, and I added I can show you how efficient it was using the generative AI model to produce something I needed in that book. Well, mm, let me see if it should be something. I hope I find it. Mm, I don't know why I don't find it. I give it a try. If I fail, I will give up. Um, Python for kids. No, never mind. I wanted to add to my book a list of code snippets that if the kid tries, he get icons, colorful icons on screen. So instead of working hard on creating that list of code snippets, I instructed ChatGPT exactly what I want and it created it for me. So it saved me a lot of time. Okay. I also gave it a sample for the format I'm looking for. And thanks to that sample, the format of the generated content was exactly what I expected. Now, the role is highly important. When you say you are a lawyer, you are a doctor, you are a CPA, that influence, that has influence on the data the generative AI model generates. Might be a huge influence. For example, I want to write a complaint an organization that is responsible for consumers' relationship with businesses in Italy about a specific company that that wasn't fair with me. So I asked ChatGPT to write the complaint, but I also specified you are a lawyer because I wanted the complaint to be to include legal terms. So I had to specify you are a lawyer without specifying you are a lawyer. The letter it won't be the same. So okay, the output formatting we explained a lot about the format, how important it is. Here's an example. I need a file in the JSON format with specific data. I needed that for a specific assignment I gave to my students. So I wrote to ChatGPT, please create a list of currency exchange rate. Exchange rate, it should be in JSON format, specifying the format, and I got exactly what I expected to get. The additional information, we talked about it, will assist. Any additional information you have in mind might assist. Um, for instance, if there is an assignment I got as a student, I want generative AI to solve it for me. So I tell generative AI model, you are a student, you got an assignment. The assignment required blah, 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 blah. And then I said the code should include comments in the Java doc format, and generative AI will generate for me that code, the code I asked. And it will take into account the fact that I'm a student and will pay attention to everything just as expected. Um, Now, try to avoid whatever is unnecessary because if you have a prompt that is too big, that might damage because there is a limit for how big the prompt can be and still be effective. Now, regarding the order of the various parts, so the directive and the output formatting, it would be best to have it in the end. You want the AI model first to work on to go over the examples and the additional information and think in according with the role you specified. So examples you provide, the role you assign to the generative AI model, the additional information that should come first. The directive, which is the instruction, what you want the generative AI model to do, and the description of the format of the generated content, that should be in the end. Because you want the model to start with going over the examples, to think according to the role you specified, and to go over the additional information. And only when generative AI completes doing that, then you want the generative AI model to do what you ask it to do according to the directive you specified and to create the content with the format you specified. So when talking about techniques in prompt engineering, there is the instruction-based prompt, instruction, a concise instruction, the directive, pay attention to that directive, improve it, change it to be accurate in what you want. If your prompt is concise, clear, then the generative AI model will understand and follow. So the instruction, focus on the instruction. The role is all important. It shapes the
Excuse
language,
me, I
the
got a
tone.
chat message today. Excuse me, I got a chat message today. My came.
Let's wait with the questions to the end because we don't have much time left. Please. So there is the instruction technique, there is the role technique, improving the role, be specified about the role. Uh, say your operation manager is one thing. If you say you are operation manager in airline, that improves the prompt. If you say that you are customer service, then this is manager in a well-known airline, this is something else. So choose the role that fits the content you want to create. That will influence the language. Look, operation manager, well, it will say due to unexpected operation constraint affecting blah blah blah. But if you tell the generative AI you are a customer service, you will get a text with words such as we understand the disruption, we are here to help, blah 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 blah. So don't forget about the role. Now, the example, also known as short example or examples when needed, is also a technique. Improve the example, maybe add more example. If you don't provide examples at all, then the generative AI model will need to think by itself how the format should look like. It will be more difficult. Don't go there. Provide a shot, an example for what you expect the generative AI model to produce. Um, here is a sample. I have two shots, two examples. I send the ChatGPT, the generative AI model to the ChatGPT is just a passage, how do you say, a way for interacting with the generative AI model. It is just a port to the generative AI model. Remember that. So eventually the prompt is for the generative AI model on the server. So you can have a concise instruction, provide more information, where to get the information, and be specific about the format. Give a short or two examples. How do you expect the format? And you will get a result accordingly. Now you can, when working on a prompt, in order to improve it, you can take all the techniques we mentioned and improve through each and every one of them and introduce an improvement that includes a more precise role, more example shots. We use the word shots when saying examples when talking about examples for the generative AI model. Um, you can work in each one of the techniques we mentioned and do it together as an improvement to the prompt. If the result doesn't satisfy, have another cycle, improve the prompt. This is what prompt engineering is about. Look at this sample. I give two shots, two examples for two series of numbers. And then the third one, I leave that to the generative AI to think and complete it. And I also say, I write, you are a student who learn math. So the generative AI model, okay, well 1 minute left. So the generative AI model think as a student. And then you were asked to find the next number. You understand? I want him to find the next number. But the two examples I give it help the generative AI to understand how the output should look. Okay. My recommendations start with a simple prompt. In many cases, it is sufficient. If you're not sure about which prompt to use, ask ChatGPT to create a prompt for you. Uh, if you include examples, make sure they are clear. The instruction, directive, should be clear, specific. Make sure it is a specific instruction so the model will understand what it should do. And of course, there is always the cycle of refinement the prompt. You get a result, you're not satisfied, so you try again. Some tips, make experiments. With time, you will learn what works best for you, but don't just interact with ChatGPT. Try to think about everything we talked about, the best practices, and then the role, the examples, the context, additional data, and in the end, format and directive. Format of the content that is about to generate, the AI will generate, and 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 and, and, and the format and the directive. These two will come in at the end. Um, Always remember there is a limit. So a prompt that is too big might not work. There is a limit on the server side for how big the prompt can be and still be an effective. Don't forget that sometimes the generative AI invent, making up. So verify everything you get. Don't take it for granted. And remember, there is a limit on the data, assuming that most models have their data from the web. They don't have all data, and there also might be a case of um, limitations or on how smart the model can be in getting in getting to conclusions from the data. So in those cases, maybe it would be best separate the prompt into separated prompts, separated tasks. And of course, there is a limit on the memory, the ChatGPT you work with. It remembers what you do, the previous interaction, and it use prompts and input you gave through the chat, but there is a limit. It doesn't remember everything. At some point, it won't remember. So you need to remind the generative AI model by creating a good Polish prompt, exactly what you expect it to do with all the ingredients we mentioned. You start with the format, the data, the role, and in the end, you specify the, sorry, you start with the examples and the role, the data, and in the end, the directive and the format. That should be the end of the prompt. And having most data coming from the web, we know there are lots of stuff not correct, not accurate on the web, so we should take that into account. And that's it. So now that we reached the end of the talk, now questions that you might have, please. I also open the chat and I'm with you.